So I'm sure by now most of my viewers are aware there's been a Israeli ceasefire. There's been a halt to hostilities. There's been a halt to Israeli bombing in Gaza. I'm a black man. I ain't got no power. Black folks ain't got no power. We ain't got no wealth. Much of the stuff we have is just through sheer force of will. That's it. Most of our heroes are athletes, musicians. So that means they made their money by singing or dancing or throwing a ball. Let's be honest. A lot of the stuff during civil rights was just showing the world just how clearly we were being treated. Just the rough treatment of black people under Jim and Jane Crow. Under separate but not equal, separate but not equal, and all that kind of stuff. I think that's something similar to Israel. That there is a sort of a social shift going on in America. There isn't this carte blanche Israel gets to just kill discriminately. That years ago you wouldn't have had congressmen and stuff come out and say like, okay, this is wrong. Like I said, I'm a black man and I look at the social norms because that's all we have. Black folks don't have nothing. We don't have shit. We have no power in this country. We have people who are moving with us with similar problems and similar issues who are willing to march with us and stand with us on certain issues. That's what black people have. I'm like I said, I'm looking at what's going on over there, and I'm thinking that there's a shift taking place. But I'm wondering if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I always talk about how this next generation politics is different than the one before. I heard something today that Republicans have not won the popular vote since 2004. Then they got gerrymandering, all kind of sneaky shit. We're not talking about that. I'm just talking about the popular vote in presidential politics at that level. I think that you're looking at a different social consciousness. You're dealing with the very fabric of our social consciousness in America is changing. And I'm speaking in regards to Israel, I'm thinking that that's probably a good thing. But today I'm thinking to myself, if Israel is performing so much more aggressive violence than they did back in 04, and they did the other time, the Protective Edge, and the other one they did, I'm wondering if it's kind of like a trade-off. People are able to recognize that Israel is committing war crimes, and they are acting inhumanely. But their actions are so much more violent and brutal than they were during other campaigns of terror that they've had in the past. I mean, they bombed the International Aid Building. They bombed the International Aid Building. They bombed some hotels where there were international press. I mean, you're doing things to even institutional white people are like, hey, we don't need this. You need to stop this. You're doing too much. This is wrong. This is costing me money, baby. You take that down the street. This is you're starting to get in that area now. And I understand that the international aid guy was on the phone with the Israeli government. And they were like, "We're coming in." And he was like, "Wait a minute, let's get us about the building." And they were like, "No," and they came in, they bombed the building. I think they killed some people around the building. I think that goes beyond religion or like whether you are Semitic or anti-Semitic. I think this goes to a level of just sheer inhumanity. And that's because they've been doing this so long. I mean, I remember reading about how back in '04, and maybe further back than that, they used to like, the Israeli government would kind of say like, yeah, we take land, but they wouldn't, like the colonists, people that were just citizens going down there, the civilians, they'd be like, don't do it. They'd be like, kind of like, discouraging it. And now it's like, yeah, that's what they do. There's been a shift there. And I look, I tell you all the time, when it comes to the way I look at the world, there's two things I look at with this man. I look at his money, I look at the military. I don't listen to what they say. I look at the money. Where are these rich boys spending money? And where's the military going? What is the military doing? When Trump talked about how, oh, climate change and making jokes, I ain't look at that. I looked at when his pick for Joint Chiefs wrote a couple 100-page of paper on climate change, on how the military would respond to it. That's what I read at night. That's what I put my attention to. When the Republicans say, hey, let's make a bill to harden military bases against stronger storms and floods and climate change. That's what I look at. I think that the Israelis kind of know that there's a shift going on. Not that Biden is just communist and he's gonna come out and I didn't think you do anything about this stuff. But I think that they know they've got to hurry up. That there will be a president at some point that actually has some balls, that actually has some integrity, and not Obama, and not Joseph Biden. That you get someone in the future that says, you know what, you shouldn't be killing kids, you shouldn't be bombing people in residential areas where you're not warning them before you go in. That was another thing. They used to drop knockers. They drop on the roofs of the buildings, not saying it was okay to not, and they would make a loud knock. Or they would call them like, hey, we're coming in, and give you 2 hours or 3 hours before they bomb the building. They don't do that no more. They didn't do it this time. So there's a certain nature about the latest hostilities that is much more vicious and much more inhumane than I think other campaigns they've had. Much more inhumane in its brutality. I say that often, that it seems like the rich are in a hurry, whether it's Israel trying to rush and take all the land, or whether it's Bezos and others trying to run up into space and how they're going to have their own law. And I mean, it seems like, I talk about this all the time. This is my conspiracy theory. I think the rich, I think there's a higher science. I think that there's a higher science. There's technology that's 20, 30 years ahead of us that we don't even know about. There's 0-point energy. There's things that cold fusion exists now. And I think that maybe they know something's coming. They're trying to get out of here. In the case of SpaceX and all those. I'm gonna get back on subject. I just think that what the Israelis did here, they kind of showed you a different side of themselves. I think people kind of knew it was like this, but I think they showed that we're killers, and we're here to kill, and we will kill children. We will kill innocent people to achieve our goals, to achieve our methods, and that we don't really care what anybody thinks. And I think that's a very different tact than maybe you had 15, 20 years ago, where they at least kind of pretended and, Like, hey, maybe these soldiers were wrong. Maybe they shouldn't have done it. Maybe they shouldn't have fired into this crowd. I don't know. But I know that Israel doesn't get a pass now. And I know that that's something that we should celebrate. I always look at the positives because I have to. The world's too depressing otherwise. To see the International Criminal Court speak out against Israel and open investigation against Israel is refreshing. It is definitely something I thought was refreshing and unique to see. I think that was a couple months. I think that was like back in March, February, something like that. I think it was February, March. And that happened. And to see that go forward, it's another example of how things have really gone. Because years ago, they were just said, that was anti-Semitic. You're just being anti-Semitic. When they were talking about investigating everything going on over there. And now these latest crimes, it's just, I think it brings home to even lay people that Israel's out of line. They're acting unilaterally. And I've spoke about it before as well, that this was Joe Biden's chance to stand up and act with integrity. He did not. I said he was a joke in the beginning. I go back to what I said again now. Joe Biden's a joke. He's an embarrassment for the left. The fact that after 4 years of Trump, the best you've got is Joseph Biden is an embarrassment. And the fact that someone out here would call him a communist with a straight face, or anybody around him as a communist with a straight face, is really laughable. And it shows you how far right America really is. To call Joe Biden a communist is actually kind of demented to say that when he hasn't done a lot of things he was going to do. It just, I don't know. I guess even I thought for a second Joe Biden would maybe stand up to Israel, maybe make some public statements, speaking out. And they didn't. And once again, it was another foreign leader that acted with integrity, that spoke out. I think it was Justin Trudeau in Canada that spoke out and said, let's slow this down. Let's chill out. Let's cool this out. Once again, showing you what America really is. This is a warmongering empire, period. And that America operates through proxies. And that, for the most part, that's all that matters. Human life doesn't matter to these people. I think that this just if you basically, this is a clarification of what America really is. That America doesn't stand for, America isn't a force for good. It never was, and that you shouldn't expect it to be so. I think that I don't know. I'm not even surprised anymore. I'm not even surprised anymore to see these things and be like, well, isn't America no. In fact, I think Joe Biden just signed an arms deal with Israel recently. So you know what side he's on. I think Obama signed an arms deal with them as well. And just like calling Joe Biden a communist, they said Obama hated Israel, but he still signed a $1 billion arms deal. So that was BS. That was just more BS than too. Once again, showing you how far right the right Republican Party is, that these stuffed puppets, they're gonna give you what you want, but you're so extremely right. You're so far right that anybody that even verbally is like, well, maybe Israel shouldn't be killing kids. You're anti-Semitic. You're bad. Like it really just shows you once again how demented the right really is. that anybody who in for a second is like, well, maybe they shouldn't be sniping kids, and maybe they shouldn't be shooting at doctors. You hate Jews. Like I mean, that's, and once again, going back to it, calling Joe Biden a communist, saying the pandemic was fake, saying Trump was the rightful president, and it's May, and they're still reading ballots and doing crap, whatever they're doing. This just shows you, it shows you a certain segment of the population is really sick. I mean, they're deeply sick. They're deeply sick. They're not just playing maybe by different rules. They're playing a different game altogether. And even when you have these established Democrats like Obama, like Biden, who are like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna go and play by the rules. Even when they, pretend, the right still hates them. I mean, Obama quadrupled the droning, and they still hate him. What Obama used, what was it, the Espionage Act against the press, like 7 times, trying to get people in trouble. Nobody talks about this. That was wrong. That was wrong to go after the press. I don't care if he was black. That was wrong to do that. I just think that Biden couldn't have done more. Thank you for listening.